Hey guys, and welcome back to Cultured Boys, a show where two guys just want to have a chat. I'm Nathan, and as always, I'm joined by Pepe. And this week, we are talking about a movie I have wanted to watch for quite a while. We're talking the Tetris movie.
Yeah,
Let's go, baby.
Bricks.
How you doing, Pepe?
I'm good, mate. How are you? Very well, mate.
I'm doing good, mate.
Yeah.
I'm doing good.
Nice. But Tetris movie, like I didn't know this existed until you told me.
Yeah.
Arguably, that was probably 2 years ago or something like that, or like a year ago.
Yeah.
Like it feels a while ago. Let's put it that way. you told me about this, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like when you say Tetris movie as well, you think, what? They're about making a movie about the game Tetris? How's that gonna work?
Dropping blocks and that.
What's it gonna be like the Emoji Movie where they've all got little faces and it's like, oh, here's the wacky T piece or something like that, and it's like, that block, that square one, what's he like? He's always a bit of a nerd.
Oh, that crazy red S piece versus that sane green one. God.
And then there's that long blue one. What's he like? He always gets straight to the point. But yeah, no, it's not that.
that quick just cut like, but yes.
No, it ain't that. Luckily, because I hope they'll never make a movie like that ever.
Oh God. Yeah, I hope they don't. But yeah, funny you mentioned that you heard it from me, because I feel like most people who know this movie, at least that I know, heard it from me.
Yeah, it feels like it's really gone under the radar, considering that, but that might be because a very limited reach on just Apple TV.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But Nathan, before we get any further into this movie, do you actually want to explain what the Tetris movie is?
Yes. So we call it Tetris movie just because it's easier. It's actually just called Tetris.
Mm-hmm.
Produced by Apple Studios, Marv Studios, AI Film, and Unigram. Released March 31st, 2023 on Apple TV Plus. Hence, more reach. Runtime of 118 minutes. Video game designer Hank Rogers seeks to secure global rights for Tetris 1984, leading to tense negotiations in the Soviet Union involving creators, government, and corporate intrigues. Thank you, IMDb.
Thank you, IMDb. Right. So it is the story of how Tetris came to be.
Yes, how Tetris is licensed for the world.
Yeah. it actually makes up for a really interesting story. A lot of this I found out was obviously, I think there's a lot of accounts that are taken from a book about this as well. So like, although like it's not like like I feel a lot of it has been escalated a little bit.
Yes.
But a lot of it is very true to fact.
Yes.
All this stuff about the negotiations, stuff about Hank Rogers going to Russia to negotiate, all this stuff is very, very true, which is quite interesting when you see how the film plays out.
That's the craziest thing, and that's why I wanted to watch this film, was because prior to this film, I had just watched a video about this exact story, how Tetris was licensed.
Yeah.
And honestly, you think, it's just Tetris, right? You know, like such a synonymous game, everyone knows Tetris. You think, it's whatever, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
How interesting could it be? And it's like, the thing is, when you hear the actual, like, accounts and stories of how this happened, like Pepe said, the actual facts of the matter is there was a lot of people doing some fucking shady shit, all culminating in fighting for the rights to Tetris from the Soviets, as it's also like basically leading up to the dissolution of the Soviet Union anyway, around that sort of time period. So it's like, there's so much shit just going on, and you're like, this is just for Tetris, bro. The block falling game.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? It's arguably one of the best-selling games of all time.
Yeah.
And obviously one of the most recognizable. There's so much about this game. And when you see the amount of the fight that Hank had to go through to like get the licensing for it, like all this sort of stuff, it's like, oh, okay, there's a lot, but the payoff is there. Arguably.
Yeah.
See, like, there's a reason why they made a film like this.
Yeah.
And it's that there's a very, very interesting story there that like a lot of people it's also very unassuming. Like you said, it's the falling block game. What is it?
Yeah.
To me, as a kid, you'd be like, oh, cool, Tetris. You play a little bit on the Game Boy or whatever. And you think nothing of it. You don't actually think of all the stuff all the hard work that went into this as a whole.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay.
Again, I didn't watch a video about it until I was around, I don't know, 28.
Yeah.
So I'd long had my degree in game design, like where I would have learned some video game history. But like, unless you just come across this somehow, or you're that interested in like gaming history, you would never ever assume this much was going on just to get Tetris published,
Never.
the licenses and the rights sorted out properly for distribution. It's really a lot of things happening. It's just so crazy. It's just nuts, man.
I think it's like the story is you can see why it's been made into a film because it is a very, very interesting story about the whole thing. And arguably they've got a good cast in here as well.
Yeah.
Like Taron Egerton as Hank Rogers is
To me, that was the biggest sell as well.
yeah.
Because like, it's like, oh man, the Kingsman. It's
Absolutely. Yeah,
it's the Kingsman and he's the main guy. Like,
and it's like arguably it's good to see him like in more stuff as well because I've seen him in obviously Kingsman, like you said, like Rocket Man, and it's like so he's doing all these kind of shows and it's like these movies, and it's like okay, this is really interesting. It just showcased off his talent even more. But even like the rest of the cast as well, it's played out really well.
yeah.
Was it like the what was it, the Maxwell family as well? Like is it
Oh yeah.
like Kevin Maxwell and
Kevin Maxwell and Robert Maxwell.
like you know, like when people say, oh yeah, the best villain's always British or whatever. You think, that's not that right, is it? You're like, oh okay, so Kevin and Robert Maxwell are literally like some of the true villains of this piece.
Yeah.
Because they're just like trying to screw everyone over basically. Like it's like big business, and like arguably these two actors that have played them, like they do a really good job.
Oh, I will say, Roger Allam, who played
Yeah.
Robert Maxwell, my God, that man has such a nice speaking
Wait,
voice.
I heard this voice and I was like, I've never seen this guy before, but I feel like I've heard his voice before.
Right? Oh my God. So I was watching this film yesterday with some people,
yeah.
and someone said the same thing. They went, "Oh, he's got a really nice voice," and I was like, "You know what it is? It's got that very classic like British sound,
It is, isn't it?
but it just hits the ear so well. Like something about it, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so jealous."
Yeah. It's just so clean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a voice that you'd have on like adverts or like just a now. That's just like
Yeah, it's got like a very nice bass, and it's got like this very nice cadence and rhythm that you're just like, oh, that's just like perfect. I don't know what about it.
yeah.
But yeah, like I just have to shout that out because I was like, he might be a villain, but every time that man spoke, I was like, yes, buttery smooth, give it to me.
I'm trying to like work out if I've ever seen him in anything before, and
You might not have, but he might have voiced some stuff or something. I don't know.
I'm looking for his IMDb now, and I cannot see anything that I recognize.
Maybe it really is just that, like, at least to you and me, you know, as Brits, that we're just like, it just has that sort of classic Brit sound. You know what I mean?
Arguably, yeah. Like, I mean, he's in the Pirates of the Caribbean, but it's the fourth one, and I'm definitely not going to.
I've never seen any of those films.
What? You never seen any of the Pirates of the Caribbean films?
Nope.
We're addressing that later. That's absurd on its own. That is like what? But yeah, I can't see anything here that I recognize him from.
Fair enough.
Like not any literally anything at all that I can't recognize. But again, like really good performance of both of that. I mean, the guy that plays Kevin Maxwell as well, like you know, like where it takes a certain
Anthony Boyle, yeah, he was like perfect.
yeah, just like he's just so punchable. You know what I mean? Like this guy is just such a like.
Well, it's that first introduction, isn't it? When he's like, Stein comes in.
Yeah.
Robert Stein comes in, and Robert Maxwell is like, "This is my son, Kevin Maxwell. I can introduce myself, father."
Yeah.
Ah, it's nice to meet you, Kevin. That's Mr. Maxwell to you.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's not the first time he says it again later on.
Yeah, he says it so many times, and you're like, all right, dickhead, like, calm down.
For those that need a bit of context as well, the Maxwells are the owners of Mirrorsoft.
Well, the Mirror Group.
Mirror Group, and arguably, like, there's a whole lot of stuff going on there. These guys are basically like your typical billionaires in the 80s, where it's like
Yep.
slick back hair, like all these like fine suits, this kind of thing.
Yep.
And they're embezzling money and all sorts. Well, Robert is the one that's embezzling some funds.
Yeah.
Kevin has no idea about it, basically. Even though he's like, oh, I'm a big part of this group or whatever, he's kept in the dark in so many things, and it's clear to see it.
That's the funniest part, is because it's like your classic from money story as well. Like,
Yeah.
Robert's the one who's built this thing, so he's that old boy who's like, I've had to do many things to get here. You don't understand, boy.
Yeah.
And then Kevin's like, I come from money, but I'm trying to prove to everyone that I deserve my position.
Yeah. And he goes about in the most dickhead way as well. So it's like,
Yeah, because, well, he's still from money, so, you know, like, he grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth, so of course he's still gonna come out being like, I'm better than you, deal with it.
It's really interesting because I looked into this film afterwards as well.
Uh-huh.
There's part of me which is like, obviously a lot of it is amped up for dramatic effect, but how much of that is from a dramatic effects? And you realize that the story of it is very much spot on.
Yep.
And there's a certain point in there where Kevin goes to Russia to negotiate licensing for Tetris. And I can't remember the guy's name. What was it? The guy what was it? What was the company that Tetris was licensed for in Russia? Elog. And it's the guy from that. What's his name? Oh, it's gonna piss me off. What was it? Was it Nikolai Belikov? It might be Belikov.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's Belikov, wasn't it? So he's the one that's doing like going in between all these rooms.
Yeah.
And like talking to Rogers and all these sort of people. And so Belikov meets Kevin, and he has a copy of it's a SNES version of Tetris, isn't it?
I think it's the NES even. Famicom.
Yeah, Famicom. It's a Famicom one.
Yeah, because it's the Japan Nintendo only, so it would actually, Famicom.
Yeah, so he holds up a copy of it, shows Kevin, he's like, oh, do you recognize this? And Kevin's like, no idea what it is at all. What is it? But it's a product licensed by his company. So like, and like that shows Kevin's character completely, is that like he has no idea that even exists, and he's over there to do negotiations. I found out that was completely real as well. Like he was shown the copy and he was like, I don't know what that is.
But like the line that follows that also proves how much he doesn't know about shit, and that he doesn't deserve his position, because he literally follows up with, Mr. Belikov, I'm too important and too busy to deal with the day-to-day goings on in my company.
Yeah.
So you're like, well, that's okay.
Why the fuck?
That just proves you don't know shit then.
Why the fuck would you want to deal with this guy?
Innit?
If you're trying to get a licensed product, you'd be like, why the fuck would I go with you? Like, you got money in shit, but that is like the worst sales pitch ever.
Also, like, Belikov's like, do you know what this is? Did you make this? Did you steal from us? Kevin is just straight up in that scene, is just like, yeah, I don't give a shit about that. Let's move on to the thing I'm here for. I don't care what you're talking about. They're like, yeah, because that's how negotiations go, mate. Like, fuck off. Don't talk to me about what you want. This is what I want.
I want the handheld rights. And he just keeps on going on about the fucking... Oh, man.
He's a very good negotiator, that man.
Yeah. I wonder what went wrong.
Right? Oh, how did he not come out with the rights so quickly? Oh my god.
Oh my god. There's so much of that. It's just like, again, but brilliantly portrayed, like on all sides with that.
Yeah.
But what was it? Obviously we have to talk about Alexei as well.
Yes. The creator of Tetris, Alexei Pajitnov.
Yeah. Which is like, and it's quite cool to see that bond and how Rogers and Lexi get to know each other and stuff like that, and like how that kind of that partnership goes as well.
Yeah,
there's a lot there, and like even again reading more into it, it's like that is a genuine like, oh yeah, they used to like all the stuff that's there is pretty much emotionally like,
yeah.
I think the actual quote from the original, like the actual Alexei on this is on the whole film is that a lot of that is amped up, but the spirit and emotion that they're all there. That's an actual
Oh,
quote
man.
from him. So it's like
Talking about an emotion, there was one line me and the friend that was watching it with me we latched onto because it was just so funny.
Mhm.
It's towards the end of the film.
Okay, I know which bit. Yeah,
You know, so they're at the airport.
yeah,
And, you know, Hank turns around. He's like, "This isn't goodbye. I'm coming back." Okay.
yeah.
And then, you know, it's like all climbing up, like building up, building up. And he goes for a hug. And Alexi goes, "There's no time for American emotions."
Yeah.
As soon as I heard that line, I lost my shit. My friend lost their shit, and they were like, "No way, bro! No time for American emotions." I was like, I'm using that line forever now. I'm just gonna turn around forever. Just like, there's no time for American emotions.
Yeah. You said that to someone here of all places. They'd be like, "The fuck are you on about?"
Well, especially like coming from me.
Yeah,
they'd be
the
like,
most British guy ever. Like, it just makes you feel like you got something against one, the Americans, and two, emotions. It's like, coming from you specifically, that'd be like, why? It's caused so much confusion that someone just wants to give you a hug.
yeah, there's no time for American emotions.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but it was just like so funny.
Mhm.
And I have to mention that just because you brought up emotion. It was such a random line, but I fucking love it.
I mean,
Like,
yeah, I feel like that was like an actual thing as well. Like, I think, like,
probably.
yeah, I feel that was a moment.
He wasn't wrong though. There was no time for American emotions. Like, don't give me a hug. You gotta get the fuck out.
He was also like, "Yeah, I'm gonna stay here until you get to make sure you guys get off, though."
Yeah.
And Rogers is like, "No, you've got to run. You're in danger here." And then, but like, it's just one thing. Like, one, yeah,
And then he's like, "Give me a hug though
yeah, yeah,
before you leave." It's like, no one's got time.
yeah.
You all gotta disappear.
Everyone's got to go.
Y'all gotta run.
It's like, oh man. It's interesting to see all those like honestly all the characters, even that what was it, the that guy, who does he play again? It was no, it wasn't, fuck. What was the guy's name? The guy, the pure evil Russian dude that was like basically there to get his own bag, basically.
I think Trefanov.
It's Valentin, yeah.
Yeah, Valentin Trefanov.
Yeah, he played it well. I think.
Mm.
Again, I feel like that's one of those characters that was thrown in for a bit more of like a
movie.
because you're not exactly gonna get his account on things, are you? In this,
No. Especially if he was supposedly arrested for
Yeah.
trying to sort himself out before the country. Like,
I think it's one of those ones where it's like where there's certain bits which are like, oh, they're amped up for effect. He was definitely one of them. They like that would have been just a guy in a suit. Like Rogers and like Alexa, they probably wouldn't have known too much about this dude specifically.
also, again, if he was real,
Yes.
you would never know anymore because my man is in a gulag somewhere.
Yeah.
He's gone. He's in some
Yeah.
fucking prison out in the snow somewhere, man. He
Yeah.
ain't. That's if he got lucky enough to go to prison and they didn't just off him straight away. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's one of the things that Rogers, like the real life Hank Rogers, talks about in that book as well. Is that he genuinely thought he was going to be sent to the gulag at one point. They don't really bring it up in the film. Like, like it is like he genuinely like it crosses by that he was going.
yeah, in the film they play it off like very nicely.
They do, don't they? Yeah.
Like a lot of these very imposing people come up on Hank Rogers. Sometimes they rough him up a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like a whole lot considering what you would think would happen in the Soviet Union of the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like there's so many times like these big scary guys come up and then they're just like, "You're not welcome here anymore. Leave."
Yeah, they're like, just go home, go home.
That's it.
But they don't do anything to make him go home. They just tell, look, we're watching you. They give him like subtle threats and they just tell him to go home. The first time, okay, yeah, like I don't think they'd be that easy on him, but that's fine. But it happens about 3 or 4, like even up to 5 more times where they tell him to go home.
Yeah.
They take his like Levi's at one point, and then there's other bits like
the Levi's.
but they still
Thanks for the Levi's.
yeah. They're still very much like, okay, cool, like just go home. They don't actually rough him up that much at all, really, considering.
No. Again, everything that you imagine or you think you know of the USSR, the Soviet Union of the time,
Mm-hmm.
first time would have got roughed up, probably as a warning, told go home.
Mm-hmm.
Second time, prison, at least.
Yeah. Easy. That's exactly. That's what I thought. Like you would literally be like, they're a lot more lenient than I thought.
Yeah.
But I don't want to use that lightly because there probably was some absolute mad shit that went on back then.
Oh, for sure.
So in this movie's portrayal, they seem quite lenient considering. Because like what was it? He also goes on there, like he comes into the country as a tourist, not to do business. So he's already on one thing.
Broken the law.
And then he's stepped into a government building, which again,
Without invite. Broken the law.
yeah, there's so many things which he shouldn't even like have just been said, go home. The moment he steps in that government building, he should have been fucked up.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things there where I'm like apparently that is real though. He did do all of those things.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing. Like, a lot of those things he did, which, again, based on what you think you know of back then,
Yeah.
everything he actually did whilst in Russia at that time,
Mm-hmm.
bro, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't know how many lifetimes of luck you had to have been used up there, but definitely my guy, Hank Rogers, one of the luckiest guys in existence, surely.
Absolutely, yeah. Like he's literally putting his life on the line for Tetris. If it was me, I'd be like, look, love my job. I've got a family, bro. I can't afford to be going in no gulag. Like, you know what? Fucking take it. Take the Tetris. Yeah, I don't care. Have the Tetris.
Yeah, but I mean, like, this is the same man that, like, I mean, in the film at least, when he's talking to that banker and he's like, the banker's like, right, we'll give you the money, but we're going to increase your interest rates. Done. We're going to take your house as collateral. Done. And if you miss one payment, we're taking that house. Done.
Yeah. I mean, arguably, yeah, he went in quite hard in those negotiations.
He went super hard with, like,
I say negotiations because it wasn't really a negotiation. It was like kind of money.
yeah, he didn't have a choice.
Nah, he had to do it. I guess he had to do it for his family. So it's like, okay,
This is a man who bet literally everything. I don't know how many times on Tetris, because he also breaks into Nintendo essentially
yeah,
to talk to Yamauchi-san.
yeah,
He breaks into E-Log essentially.
yeah,
Like, the amount of times he just sort of goes off and does a thing that he really shouldn't be doing
yeah.
because he believes in Tetris that much is like, this had to have paid off, because, like, I don't know how many times you can risk everything for one thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of bits in this. Like again, a lot of the stuff I have is like after read, like basically just looking into it more.
Yeah.
And there's like certain bits like there's like which they don't have in the film, where it's like negotiations with Atari as well.
Oh, yeah.
In real life, you waited outside of Atari's building to talk to their like whatever, like one of the heads or whatever. Did that, and they actually went to dinner for it. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of like charm there, and that is the way of like a businessman, I guess. Like, you have to have that kind of level of charm and all that kind of stuff. But he's also like a game developer, so it's cool to see that. And it's like even like seeing him and Alexei bond over like the making of Tetris.
Yeah.
And like all the stuff that's in, then it's like,
And programming languages, like, that was a fun little nerd thing.
yeah, it's really cool to see, honestly. And it's like it's just like, again, the whole story of this is just a really cool moment, and that's what I'd like really recommend people to watch this film. One bit there's two things I want to get into before I get into any massive spoiler territory.
Sure.
I wanted to talk about the music in this film.
Yeah.
Because there's one moment where there's two covers of I Need a Hero.
Yep.
One of them is at the start, and it's a Japanese cover of it, and I'm like, this is a sick cover, I love this. And then there's a second one, so towards the end of the film, which is a Russian cover of it.
Yeah.
Which I was like, this is also sick. And then but then, like, what was it, the main credit song is sung by the Pet Shop Boys as well, which is actually quite a cool thing. I was like, oh, okay, they got like a little bit.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's like where the credits are rolling. They had that kind of thing. I think it's like a weird remix though, so it's like a Pet Shop Boys song mixed with the Tetris theme tune, so it's like a remix of it, which is cool. It's cool to see that. But where the Russian version of I Need a Hero kicks in is where I'm gonna dive into a bit of spoiler territory here.
Cool.
Because the moment that I thought, like, this whole film is really cool, really, really interesting story itself. It's the last 10, 15 minutes of the film where they decide to go into a full-on car chase.
Yep.
Where like everything's like turns into pixels a little bit and it's like all that.
Yep.
Although cool to see, I actually did burst out laughing because I thought this is so like it felt so real up until that moment.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, no, this is quite. And it's like you got the two businessmen from Nintendo, like the creators of the Game Boy, basically, or like whoever they were. Like they're in the back.
Well, it was the president.
Oh yeah,
of Nintendo America and the vice president, like the VP.
Yeah,
like two of the biggest people of Nintendo America, Hank Rogers and Alexei Pajitnov, in this like little Russian car. Here's the part.
Yeah.
I also laughed at the same part.
Yeah.
But me being me, I looked at that and went, one of those Russian agent cars is a Mercedes.
Okay, yeah. Of course you picked up on this. Yeah, this.
And then I went, Alexei's car probably wouldn't have gone at that speed, even if it was just Alexei, let alone having 4 people inside that little red car, right?
Yeah.
There is no way that red car would have gone, I don't know, even over 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Let alone had to at least, in context of the chase, probably around 60.
Yeah.
Definitely did not have enough horsepower to drift, even poorly. There is no way.
If it was
that
drifting,
fucking
that
piece
thing
of
would
shit.
just span out. Like that's like,
Mate, you'd be lucky if it span out and didn't just like hard like emergency stop in the street or like fucking roll over as you turn too hard. There is no fucking way.
Yeah,
that little fucking thing could do any of that.
Yeah, but bear in mind, like this, it was a very cool scene. I'm gonna say that it was quite cool to see. It's very well done. I'm nothing against that, but in contrast to the rest of the film, this is like,
oh yeah, it takes you so far out.
Yeah, I was like, okay, like everything that was like I absolutely love about this film is like, yeah, throw some action in there. Love. It's like they just needed to do it. They're like, look, we just need like a big cliffhanger because otherwise the guy's just gonna go home and then that's it.
I made the joke that they put it in because they need you to remember you're actually watching a film.
Yeah.
But then they had to add the pixels when you crashed and stuff to make you remember it's not just a movie, it's a movie about a video game.
Yeah. And it's like it's a bookend thing, isn't it? Because
yeah,
like obviously talk about a video game, and there's like video games like the whole movie, so oh you get it then. But then it's like, right at the start, it's all those pixels are there, isn't it? And like
yeah,
it's quite cool to see like the
player 1,
yeah,
player 2, player 3.
Yeah, it's all that kind of stuff. It kind of feels like okay, cool, fine. And then it's like the planes flying over to like Russia or whatever, and it's like a pixelated Russia like on the map and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and then it's like oh, it's London, but it's all pixelated. it's like okay, cool. Like they're doing their best with it, like to make it more video gamey, I guess.
Yeah,
but like it just that racing the fucking car chase was just
that car chase was hilarious. So out of nowhere.
I want to know what the decision was behind it. I want to know who the fuck was just like, look, this film's really good, right? Like, it's really well written, very emotional, it's great storytelling. But I feel like it's missing something. What's it missing? Car chase, that's it. Right. put a car chase in there. Yeah, this bit.
It's either that or they were like, right, looking at the script, it's only going to be about this long. It's a bit short, isn't it? Like, is there something we can write in or like add just to put in a couple, like an extra like 5 minutes, 10 minutes or something?
Yeah.
Car chase.
Yeah. But like, how are we going to do the car chase? Well, Alexei turns up. Why is Alexei there?
Because he's saving his friend. Okay, perfect.
Just give him that thing like, oh, how do you know where you were? Oh, because I went somewhere I wouldn't go. And it's like, and it's like, okay, that's it. No, go now. It's just like, it's just so out of nowhere. And Like,
Like, if you recount everything, but you do it like a kid,
yeah.
it really does feel like a kid could have wrote it, like, and then Alexi turns up because he saves his friend, and then he says the thing, and then he drifts around the corner, and then the truck, and then they get to the airport, and no American emotion.
And bear in mind, at the time of this car chase, it's I Need a Hero is playing the Russian version, right? And then obviously you have the Sasha character as well, who basically is actually
KGB.
and it's like, oh, that's going on, blah 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 blah. And then you see her turn up at Gorbachev's, basically, what is it? It's like a kind of like a,
I almost want to say
it's like
rally.
a parade, I think, because like it's
Kind of, yeah.
because it's a lot of that kind of stuff.
It's some sort of event,
Some sort of event, some kind of like in
speech or something.
something. Anyway, regardless, I Need a Hero's playing. Sasha's there, and then the funny thing is, like, you see Gorbachev, like he's like facing a crowd, and then he just goes backwards. He goes backwards, like, it's like a little lean. There's a little lean there. And then, like, because you see very little of Gorbachev. You only really see him in the last half hour of the film.
Yeah, he's been mentioned a bunch of times by that point, though.
Yeah.
Just because Robert Maxwell's like, listen, we don't pay them because I'm friends with Mr. Gorbachev.
Yeah, he keeps on bringing up Gorbachev, and he's like, I'm going, get me to Russia right now. But yeah.
Oh, God.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing that felt a little bit out of pocket in that movie.
For sure, for sure.
Everything else about it I thought was absolutely, like, spot on. I actually really loved it. I actually really liked the film. I think it was a very good film.
I really liked the film. I mean, like, the only other part that I was kind of like, whatever. Like, that may or may not have happened was, like, when they go to that, like, rave or that party.
Yes, yeah.
That could have happened, but, when you're like, I mean, that easily also could just be a part for the film that they're like, this is how they bond because, they're going to see the real people of the Soviet Union, of Russia, and what they really want. And this is how they, like, you can see how, like, for beat, that could just be for the film.
Absolutely, like, it feels like they want to do it for a bit more storytelling on the Gorbachev side as well.
Yeah,
because where the country's going in the future. Because you see a lot of it's Valentin in it, like the other dude.
Yeah,
you see, like, he's talking about a lot of where the country's going as well. So there's a lot of discussions around that.
Yeah,
and arguably that scene, it is kind of like it's necessary, but it also is just like, okay, it kind of feels like they're adding it just so they can tell that story, that side of the story, even more of where the country's going, right?
Yeah.
They just added it. Like you said, not sure how real it is, but to tell the story they're telling, yeah, I get why it's there. You know what I mean?
There's worse ways to do it, for sure.
Absolutely. I've seen a bunch of films where it's like they do this as a segment. You're like, why the fuck have I done? Why they done that? It's pointless.
Yeah, they either like write something in that you're just like, why, or they shoehorn something in that's even worse, and you're just like, fucking hell, why would you do that?
Yeah. It's it's done. It's all done quite well, this film, and I do think it's good with that kind of thing. And even you get a little when the credits are rolling, you get a little backstory about where everyone's at right now. It's a cool.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah,
the old school kind of like.
Yeah, where are they now?
yeah, exactly. Like, it was, ultimately it led to good things for most of the people involved, because Hank and Alexei end up creating the Tetris company, and even his daughter Maya.
Yeah,
I didn't know that part when they're like, oh yeah, they appointed Maya as the CEO. I was like, oh, that's cool, that's nice.
Yeah,
mainly because in the film they keep including this kid, and you're like, okay. But it's also because it's like, this is how much Hank is like putting on the line and missing to get Tetris. Is that, like, he's missing a lot of his kid stuff.
Yeah, you don't realize how actual essential she is to the film in that sense. Like, you just think, oh, it's just a kid and it's his daughter and he's missing all the stuff.
Yeah,
but you don't realize it's like, oh, actually, yeah, she's actually the CEO now.
Oh, she's the CEO of the Tetris company now, so I guess that was pretty important.
Yeah, isn't it? You don't you think it's just like I thought it was like a plot device at first.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. It was like, oh, okay, no, she's actually quite essential to it, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've like pretty much said what I need to this. Is there anything else you want to say about this film, Nathan?
Go and watch it.
Oh, 100%.
And even if you don't have access, or you you aren't going to watch the film,
Mm-hmm.
I do really recommend going and looking up the story of Tetris licensing.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
I watched specifically the gaming historian's video on it,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sure there's plenty of video essays, articles, and things like. But honestly, seriously, even if you don't watch the movie, go and look up the story of how this actually happened. It is
Yeah.
insane.
Absolutely, because like we've given like a really, really like shallow rundown of what happens in this film.
Yeah,
And we said, oh, yeah, this actually happened, this happened. But when you look all into it as a whole, 100% look into the story. It's a very, very interesting story. And one that I think both of us think you'd love. So, yeah, 100%.
honestly, yeah, definitely, man.
I think, like, it's one of those films as well. Like, I'll say this quickly that, like, I collect a lot of films on Blu ray and DVD still. Like, any films that I think is, like, my favorite.
Yeah.
And part of what kind of sucks a little bit is that I know this is on Apple TV, but, like, it's one of those films I would actually really like to have a physical copy of this film.
Same. I think it would be sick to have a Blu-ray or something like this.
Yeah, but yeah, 100%. Like that's the last thing. That's how much of an impact it has on me. Like, it's not like top 10 films of mine, but I think it's such a good film, and like I just like it's a good one.
Man, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
Because like that's always a fear as well, you know. You're like, oh man, this thing that I'm really excited for. You could tell my friend, and then your friend's like, yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, and we finally got round to it.
I actually finally get to watch this.
This has been like actually on our list for ages as well.
Yeah.
Like, well, since it's been out anyway. But it's just like we just like, oh, when's the right time to do it? And like, yeah, cool. And one again, I'm gonna say it's another last point. I saw you online yesterday as well playing Tetris 99, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was also playing Tetris 99.
Were you?
Basically, like even like before I even got into the film, I kind of just got bored one evening. I was like, you know what? I've had Tetris 99 downloaded for ages. I'm just gonna play it again. I think the closest I've got is like top 14. I'm not that good at Tetris 99. I feel like
I've won twice.
You've won twice, yeah. I get there. It's one of my favorite things to play right now, like in my downtime. In the previous episode, we were saying like, oh yeah, sometimes I play a different game than Sparking Zero. Yeah, Tetris 99 is the game I've been playing.
Fair enough.
Anyway, enough of that. Starting to get to the point. Thank you for listening, guys. Have you seen the Tetris movie? Do you know anything about Tetris? Put it in the comments down below. Love to talk about it. And remember to like, subscribe, hit that bell button for future Culture Boys videos. Click links in our descriptions for all our podcasts. And we see you guys next time for another Culture Boys episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.